You ever listen to jazz and just wonder what gives it that cool, sophisticated, kind of complicated sound? Well, believe it or not, it's not magic. It's actually a secret code, a musical language built on just a few core ideas. And today, we're going to crack that code together.
All right, let's just jump right in with the big question. What is it that makes a jazz tune sound so different from, a simple pop song? Turns out there's a real formula behind that unique vibe, and it all starts with the building blocks of music, the chords.
So here's the key. Most of the music we hear every day is built on simple, three-note chords. They're called triads, and they sound super solid and familiar. But early jazz musicians started to get curious. They asked, hey, what happens if we add just one more note? And that one little addition, well, it changed absolutely everything.
And that leads us right to jazz's secret ingredient. This wasn't just some random extra note either. Nope, this was a very specific choice that unlocked a whole new world of sound and emotion.
It's called the seventh chord. This four-note structure is the absolute foundation of jazz harmony. That extra note, the seventh, is what gives the music its signature complexity. That little bit of spice and tension that kind of makes you lean in and pay attention.
But here's where it gets really cool. Not all seventh chords are the same. Just like words, they can create totally different feelings or moods. So let's break down the three most important flavors you're going to hear in jazz.
First up, we've got the major seventh chord. This one is pure relaxation. Seriously, think of a warm, lazy Sunday afternoon, or just a peaceful, dreamy vibe. This is the everything's gonna be all right chord in the jazz world.
So why does it feel so chill? Well, a major seventh is what musicians call stable and resolved, or consonant. It doesn't really create any tension, so it doesn't feel like it needs to go anywhere. And that's exactly why you'll hear it so often at the very beginning or the very end of a song. It feels like home base.
Now, let's flip the script to its complete opposite, the dominant seventh. If the major seventh is about chilling out, this chord is all about energy, excitement, and moving forward. This is the chord that makes you want to tap your foot.
This chord is literally built to sound unstable and unfinished. It's just packed with this tension that's begging to be released, and that's what pushes the music along. This sound became the backbone of not just jazz, but also the blues and even early rock and roll. It always feels like it's leading you somewhere else.
So, what's the secret sauce inside this tense chord? It's a special little thing called a tritone. A tritone is just the distance between two notes, but it sounds really restless and kind of clashy. That little bit of dissonance is the engine that drives the whole thing forward.
And finally, our third flavor is the minor seventh. This one kind of lives in the middle. It's not totally relaxed, but it's not super tense either. Think of it as mellow, maybe a little thoughtful, or even a bit moody. It adds a whole lot of emotional color to the music.
The minor seventh is just so versatile. It's got this grounded, mellow sound that's way less aggressive than a dominant chord. That makes it the perfect backdrop for, say, a saxophone or a piano solo to play over. It's a fantastic contrast to those brighter, happier major chords.
Okay, so we've got these chords with different feelings. The calm one, the tense one, and the mellow one. But how do musicians actually string them together to tell a story with music? Well, they use patterns, or what we call progressions.
And honestly, the best way to think about it is like a language. If the individual chords are the words, then a chord progression is like a complete sentence. It arranges those words in an order that makes sense and tells a quick story with a clear beginning, a middle, and an end.
And the most common sentence in the entire language of jazz is called the 2-5-1 progression. It's a perfect little musical journey. It starts with that mellow minor seventh for a little soft tension. Then it builds to the energetic dominant seventh for high tension. And then it lands on the calm major seventh for that super satisfying release.
And I am not kidding. Once you train your ear to recognize the sound of this tension and release pattern, you will hear this exact structure in thousands of jazz songs, from the 1920s all the way up to today. It's everywhere.
But, of course, great musicians never just stop with the basics, right? They take these fundamental patterns and they start adding their own unique flavor, their own personality, to make the music even richer.
One way they do this is with something called extensions. Think of these as adding descriptive words to your musical sentence. They're extra color notes, like a 9th, 11th, or 13th, that they stack on top of that basic four-note chord. It doesn't change what the chord's job is, but it makes it sound way more complex and sophisticated. Now, for even more spice, musicians will use altered chords. This is where they take a note inside one of those chords and just nudge it up or down a tiny bit.
The result is this sharp, almost dissonant sound that creates maximum tension and surprise. It's a pretty advanced trick that gives modern jazz its edgy, unpredictable feel.
So, we have all these building blocks, right? We have the different chord types, the progressions they fit into, and all these extra flavor notes. So how does a musician use all these tools to create their own personal sound?
Well, this is where something called chord voicing comes in. See, a chord is just a set of notes, but a musician gets to choose how to arrange them. Are they going to stack them all close together for a thick, dense sound? Or are they going to spread them way out across the keyboard for something more open and airy? That choice, that's like a musician's signature.
And that's really the final piece of the puzzle. The specific chords a musician chooses, the way they use progressions, the colorful extensions they decide to add, and their own unique voicings, all of it comes together to create their own personal, recognizable style. It's how two different pianists can play the exact same song and have it sound completely different.
So there you have it. The code is cracked. You now get the basic language of jazz harmony, that constant push and pull of tension and release that makes the music feel alive. So the next time you put on a jazz tune, listen for it. Listen for that journey, from the mellow chord to the tense one to that final sweet resolution at the end. Now that you're in on the secret, what new things are you going to hear?